Hey friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com. A few days ago, I recorded but did not release a video highlighting the Tarot of Jean Payen 1743, which is type 1, with a type 2, the earliest known type 2 that we have, the Madenié from 1709. I thought it would be an interesting combination of cards to show. I didn't release it. I guess sometimes I like, sometimes I do videos in quick succession. Sometimes I do them a few days apart. I like to see how it works for my channel, But at any rate, before I released that video, someone, Alexandra, contacted me and asked me to do a comparison of TdM1, TdM2, and a third deck, the Gassmann, which although I've done a comparison of other Gassmanns together, I never compared the Gassmann with TdM1 and TdM2. So it's a new video combination that I never did before. So I'm going to abandon the video I already did, but didn't release. And I'll just do a video with the Madenié 1709 type 2, the Jean Payen 1743 type 1, and the Gassmann 1840, which comes 100 years after the latest of these two decks. So let's give it a shot. Let's see what insights we can get in the comparison of these three decks. Okay, so to identify the publishers of these decks, the Pierre Madenié of 1709, created by Yves Renaud. Originally, the deck reigns from Dijon, France. As I mentioned, from what I understand, it is the earliest known TdM2 type tarot. And it didn't come too many years after the Dodal, which I think is dated 1701. Now, I don't know if this is one of the last dated TdM1 style. I don't know. But it is a rather late date for TdM1. And this one is the Tarot of Marseille, Jean Payen, 1743, which I believe came from Avignon. And this deck was published by Marco Benedetti recently. I've done a few videos of this deck, using this deck and other comparisons, and of a review of its own. So it's in recent memory. So if you want to check it out, go check it out. And then this one is the Francois Gassmann of 1840 from Geneva, Switzerland. This publication by Yves Renaud. I have a few Gassmann decks. I have one, I believe, by Deviant Moon, and another one by another publisher. I'm not sure if this is my absolute favorite one, but it's the one I grabbed for today. Okay, so I have them in chronological order. Remember, TdM1 and TdM2 style don't really have too much to do with date as much as who created the deck and where. So TdM2, Madenié, TdM1, Jean Payen, and the Gassmann. Okay, the TdM2, I neglected to say the word is le mat. In TdM1, I neglected to say that it is le fol. And then in the Gassmann, le mat. So the TdM2 and the Gassmann seem to have more in common with one another than they do with this so far, the center Payen of 1743 type 1. We see a greater similarity, in example, to the eagles on the shield. And the 1743 type 1 Payen, the eagle on this shield, very much is similar to the Dodal, and also the earlier Payen, I think 1713. We see in the Gassmann, the scepter is different than the other two. We also see a difference in the bird in all three. But the posture is the same, and the hat crown is very similar, or the helmet crown. Now, in one of the videos I did comparing or discussing, I don't remember which video it was now, the scepter or the stick of the Pope differs here. So we have the triple tier. Here we have a stick, and what's at the end of it is not real clear. But then the Gassmann is more similar to the TdM2. So notice we have Cupid in the TdM2 not blindfolded and facing, or not facing, but going in this direction. In TdM1, blindfolded and in the opposite direction. And in the Gassmann, again, more similar to the TdM2. The difference in the edges of the canopy. Again, the Gassmann being more similar to TdM2. If you'll notice here, we have a similarity in, I guess, what I almost want to call a little confusion between the triangular fold here and the triangular appearance of the scales of justice, right? We have that reoccurring in the Gassmann, which I think is interesting. Actually, we have it in all three, don't we? We have it here as well, right? We have this triangular fold. How confusing. No wonder things started getting confused, right? At some point, somebody might have confused that for the scale, you know? And then the real scale could have gotten lost completely. The chair backs in the Madenié and the Gassmann are far more similar. Whereas in the TdM1 of Payen 1743, we have kind of a hybrid, you know? Half of it wants to be like this, and then the other half wants to look like a chairback or a wing, or a regular, a different style chairback. All hermits going in the same direction. Folds of the fabric very similar, different colors. In the Payen 1743, we see that the support for the wheel is extended, whereas it disappears in the TdM2 of Madenié and the Gassmann. It does not logically extend in either of those two. Okay, only in the Gassmann do we have the correct number of 12 for the hanged man. He is dissimilar in that his garment has a different look, and he is hung by both feet rather than one. And he's missing the bent leg posture. He's awake, as are the others. But he looks down rather than out. And the gallows trees or whatever are a little different. It's not a tree. Death is not named. In the Madenié 1709, we have what appears to be yellow over black, perhaps to make green. I don't know. But the Gassmann, it's black, as is in the 43 Payen. All three have a rose or red flower. I don't know if it's a rose, but a red flower or a red mark. These two aren't clearly flowers. They're more, decorative, or maybe they were referencing another esoteric concept. But in the Gassmann, it is a red flower. In the TdM1, the only one with the face in the belly. The Swiss one kind of has a little bit more of a Krampus look, which I believe was a Germanic, contribution to this kind of creature, right? Hairy legs. This one not only has a face in the belly, but on the knees. Their wings, all three, are not the wings of a virtue, but rather the wings of something that flies at night. Okay, in the Gassmann and the TdM2 of Madenié, we see that whatever is occurring between the heavens and the tower seems to be originating from the heavens. Whereas in the TdM1, it seems to be more likely that something is already coming from the tower and going toward the heavens. It's ambiguous. It's much clearer in the Noble that it's all emanating from the tower. But here, there's some here, and then, I guess it does more than not appear to be coming from the tower, whereas these clearly seem to be coming from the direction of the heavens. They all have the same windows and roughly the same areas, 2 people falling. Same name as far as I can tell. All three have the bird in the tree and the little bush thing in the background. All have 8 stars. Only the center TdM1 of the Payen, 1743, has the front-facing moon. The other two, the Gassmann and the Madenié, the moon faces, it's a profile moon facing to our left. Howling Dogs, 2 towers, same name. Although in Switzerland they use a U for a U and a J for a J for a J rather than V and I of the other decks. The Madenié faces are lovely. And we see the scarf of the center figure, a reversed C. And the Payen, it's more like a cape. The Payen has a distinct kind of wreath belt that we saw in the other Payen of 1713 and also the Dodal. Okay, moving on to the pips. Okay, suit of swords. All 3, hand coming from the same direction. However, the hand facing in a different direction in the Gassmann. So it looks like it probably was drawn and reversed because this is not a natural way. Oh yes, I stand corrected. This is a natural way that could work like that. These aren't the natural way. And actually that looks like a thumb. So yeah, I don't know what happened there, but they do all come from the same direction. You notice a more similar center flower with the Swiss and the Dijon deck. Oh, I've got a mistake here. I screwed up a little bit there, so I'm sorry. I'll have to catch up. Let me pause. So sorry about that. A greater similarity in the foliage in the center of the swords of the Madenié and the Gassmann. Okay, well, I'm sorry, folks. I got the six screwed up with the center Payen. I'll put these aside, and if it pops up, we'll pull them back out. Here's the 7. Our pages. I think it's always fun to compare decks. You never know what you're going to notice. You just don't ever know. So, okay, now we see in the TdM1 a different name. Now I believe a chevalier is a noble person. So like Lawrence of Olivier, right? We never saw him on a horse, but he was a nobleman, right? He was knighted. So a chevalier is someone who is of high rank, high order. A cavalier, which is different, and I'm not saying chevalier is different than cavalier, right? They're horsemen. So if they're not on a horse, they're footmen. So we have a difference in name, you know, between the TdM1 and the 2 and the Gassmann. So the chevalier, or the way it's spelled this way, this person does not lose his rank when he's off his horse. These two are horsemen while on the horse and footmen when off the horse. So it's a distinction. They all have similar floral motifs at the base of their throne. And there is greater similarity between the 2 aces of TdM1, TdM2. And then we have the very Swiss Ace of Cups. I've pointed it out many times when I've done Swiss decks. Sometimes there's similarity to some Italian decks. But it does seem to be one of the ways that I can always distinguish a Swiss deck without knowing, you know, who did it. It was in the style of certain features. And the suit of cups, particularly the ace, is one of those ways. You know, I've commented on this many times, but the 2 of cups of the Gassmann always reminds me of, you know, New Year's Eve celebration with horns blowing. Now, I don't know that they're horns. I have no idea what they are. And then the happy festive look, you know, of the specks of the flowers or whatever they are, kind of reminds me of confetti. I mean, it's completely not what we're looking at, but it's how it makes me feel. And then we have this spark of energy here, which we don't really have in the other cards. They're more like flower motif, but here it's more like a spark of energy. But we have a similarity in all 3 with the lion, salamander, whatever those things are. And here we have a similarity, more great in the arrangement of the center floral motif than we have in the Payen. But the arrangement of the cups does seem to be very similar in all three. And we don't have the number in the Gassmann. Did we have it in the other cards? Perhaps not. So the Gassmann does not seem to be showing the numbers on the cups. Okay, my boyfriend and both TdMs from France. He has something in his hair. Here it's a wreath. Something in his hand, which appears to be a hat, especially in the TdM2 with the feather coming from the hat, right? It does appear to be a hat. His tunic is partially covering in the TdM1. On the verge of covering in the TdM2, and there is no such thing happening with his tunic with the cup in the Gassmann, although he does have a headband, as he does in the others, and he does appear to be holding a hat. Again, the difference between cavalier and chevalier. All three have the canopy of the queen overextending and hanging down. And here we seem to have a little bit of a similarity between all three cups. Hers is closed, whereas the others, I believe, were opened. Okay, again, the hands all coming from the same direction. And their thumbs all holding it in this way. The Swiss one is the one with different floral motifs in the background versus whatever these squiggly things are. Whatever the frenetic energy is in these other two cards. This one has fruit and foliage. And we do notice the batons of the the Swiss decks have a different look. You see it in the Burdell and other Swiss decks. So there is more of a twirling baton look to the suit of batons in the Swiss decks than we have in the other TdM style decks from France. So, in the suit of cups and the suit of batons, we see a different flavor, So if I'm given a deck randomly and I don't know too much about it, and if I don't recognize it right off the bat, I'll ask to see the suit of cups and the suit of batons, and then I can identify, or I'll look for it myself, and then I'll be able to identify with some accuracy what I'm looking at regarding Swiss versus French. So I never came across those 6 of swords of the center Payen deck, so. Okay, now I screwed up here too. I have a 5. Missing 5. Okay, I got the 5 out of order, so sorry. I showed the 4 when I should have shown the 5. We have our page. So all three, there's more similarity between them than there are differences. Here you'll notice we have the yellow paint over the black again. And of course the distinction between the Chevalier and the Cavalier, or Cavalier. I don't know how to say. I don't know how to say these words. And the Queen of Batons, she has luxurious hair in whichever deck she is in, but her face in the Madenié is just so lovely. They all three seem to have the same kind of cloth anomaly and folds. And the Two of Coins traditionally seems to indicate where and when and by whom a deck was created, made by Gassmann card makers in Geneva. There's no date that I can see. 1743, the house of Jean Payen. Pierre Madenié, card maker of Prince, which I know is in Dijon, 1709. And this one, even more than the Two of Cups, we have the party light, the party feeling, right? This really looks like New Year's Eve with horns blasting, you know, these dots, berries from a plant, you know, looking like confetti, a chandelier, you know, with lights hanging, dripping from a chandelier. So this also looks like a party card to me. Whenever I read the Gassmann and I see the Two of Cups or the Four of Coin, you know, I get a party card, a celebratory, fun kind of thing. And these are more steady, reliable looking fours. Well, I have not found the Six of Swords of the Payen deck. So I either showed it out of sequence and you caught it, or I've put it in with another deck. Ugh, I hate when I do stuff like that. So now I got to go through all my decks trying to find the Six of Swords from the Payen. I hate when I do that. It's confusing sometimes when I take out multiple decks to compare. People don't realize it. It takes, you know, take some time to get all the cards in order, in the same order. And to take care that I don't accidentally put one in the wrong deck. It happens. Again, the distinction with the name of the knight or the horseman. Our crown is pretty similar. The scepters are not too dissimilar. That became something different, whereas these two both seem to be more like a fleur-de-lis, and this one is a more bastardized fleur-de-lis, or maybe not a fleur-de-lis at all. I don't know. And the king. So there we have it. I hope you enjoyed the comparison video of TdM, the earliest known TdM2 from 1709 of Pierre Madenié, with a later dated TdM1 by Jean Payen. Both of these from France, Dijon, Avignon, and the Swiss Gassmann from Geneva, 1840. Keep your fingers crossed that I find the Six of Swords, folks. Until next time, peace and stay well.